It was a quiet Tuesday morning in the downtown offices of Horizon Dynamics. The kind of morning where the sunlight filtered through the tall windows just enough to remind everyone of simpler times, when a firm handshake and a kind word could still open doors. Samuel Whitaker stepped through the glass doors at exactly 9 o'clock. He was 61 years old, his once strong shoulders now slightly rounded by years of carrying more than most people ever see. His coat was faded and patched in places, his shoes scuffed beyond repair. Yet his eyes held a steady calm that spoke of battles fought and lessons earned. He walked slowly toward the open workspace where the morning meeting had just begun to break up. Adrian Cole stood near the center of the room, arms folded across his chest, tie perfectly knotted. At 49 he still moved like a man who believed the world owed him attention. When he noticed Samuel, a sharp laugh broke from his throat. "Well, would you look at this," Adrian said, loud enough for every desk to hear. "Did the shelter run out of coffee this morning? Or are we auditioning for the role of office mascot?" The laugh echoed. A few heads turned. Evelyn Grant, 53, with her silver-rimmed glasses and soft blonde hair, felt her hands tighten at her sides. She remembered her own father coming home from the mill with grease on his sleeves and quiet pride in his eyes. Isabella Torres, 45, kept her gaze on the floor, lips pressed together. Julian Hayes and Walter Beaumont, the older gentleman whose office overlooked the floor, both remained perfectly still. Adrian leaned forward, still smiling. "Come on, friend. This is a place of business. Maybe try the loading dock next door. They might have a broom with your name on it." Samuel did not flinch. He simply looked at Adrian with the same quiet dignity he had carried through every hard year. Then he spoke, voice low and even. "I was told this is where decisions about people are made." Adrian threw his head back again. "Decisions? The only decision I see is how fast security can escort you out." The room grew heavier. No one moved. No one spoke. Samuel stood for one more moment, letting the laughter settle around him like dust. Then he turned and walked back toward the elevators, footsteps measured, unhurried. Exactly 1 hour later, at 10 o'clock, the private elevator at the far end of the floor opened. Walter Beaumont emerged first, followed by 2 members of the board who had arrived by helicopter from the main headquarters. Walter's face was grave. He carried a single envelope. Adrian was at his desk, still chuckling about the vagrant incident to a junior associate, when Walter stopped in front of him. "Mr. Cole," Walter said, voice calm but final, "this is for you." Adrian took the envelope. His fingers left faint marks on the heavy paper. Inside was a single sheet. Termination of employment, effective immediately. Reason: demonstrated lack of respect, professional judgment, and basic human decency in the presence of a member of the board of directors. Adrian's mouth opened, but no sound came. Walter continued, tone gentle yet unyielding. "The gentleman you met this morning is Samuel Whitaker. He is the majority shareholder who has just completed the acquisition of Horizon Dynamics. He chose to visit today in the clothes he wore when he first arrived in this city 40 years ago, working nights, sleeping in bus stations, saving every dollar to buy his first share of stock in a company he believed in." Walter paused, letting the words find their place. Samuel asked to see the heart of the company he was buying. He wanted to know how the people here treat someone who appears to have nothing left to offer. "You answered that question for all of us." Adrian's face had gone pale. The laughter that had filled the room earlier now felt like a distant, hollow sound. In the quiet that followed, Evelyn allowed herself a small, sad smile. She remembered the stories her father used to tell about the men who built this city with calloused hands and unbroken spirits. Isabella lifted her head, eyes shining with something close to relief. Julian and the others stood a little taller, as if a long-held breath had finally been released. Later that afternoon, Samuel returned. He had changed into a simple navy jacket and slacks, nothing flashy. Walter met him at the elevator and the 2 old friends embraced the way men do when they have known each other through every season of life. They walked together through the office. Samuel stopped at each cluster of desks, speaking softly, asking names, listening. When he reached Evelyn, he said, "I saw your eyes this morning. They reminded me of my mother's. She never turned anyone away, no matter how they looked." Evelyn's voice caught. "My father used to say the same thing. Clothes don't tell the whole story." Samuel nodded. He was right. I learned that the hard way, more than once. But I also learned that a single moment of kindness can travel farther than any title or paycheck ever will. He turned to the whole room then, voice carrying without effort. I did not come here to punish. I came here to remember what matters. 40 years ago, I stood in a room much like this one, wearing clothes not much better than today, and someone gave me a chance. That chance changed everything. Today I wanted to see if that spirit still lived here. He looked at Adrian, who had not yet left the building, still holding the termination letter like a question he could not answer. Mr. Cole, Samuel said, I hope one day you find the courage to see a person before you see their circumstances. It's a lesson that arrives late for some, but it always arrives. Adrian could only nod, throat tight. As the afternoon light began to soften, Samuel and Walter sat in the corner office overlooking the city. They spoke of the early days, long hours, shared lunches of peanut butter sandwiches, dreams sketched on napkins. They laughed about mistakes made and lessons kept. The kind of laughter that comes after storms have passed. When Samuel finally stood to leave, he placed a hand on Walter's shoulder. Keep the doors open, he said. Not just the glass ones. The ones in people's hearts. That evening, the office light stayed on a little longer than usual. Small conversations drifted between desks, stories of grandparents who walked miles to work, aunts who took in neighbors' children, fathers who taught their sons that respect is the only currency that never loses value. And somewhere in the quiet, the lesson settled gently into every heart that had witnessed the morning. You never truly know whose story you are stepping into when you open your mouth. Sometimes the person in front of you carries more history, more strength, and more quiet grace than the finest suit could ever hide. If this story touched something in you, perhaps a memory of your own father, or a moment when someone looked past the surface and saw you, would you do me a kindness? Please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, subscribe to the Black Voices so we can keep bringing these real stories to light, and in the comments, simply write, Iski complete banadu. Thank you for listening with an open heart. Until next time, walk gently, speak kindly, and remember, you are always one choice away from changing someone's entire day.